So recently I decided to try to make my own Scrabble board for a few reasons. I actually have several Scrabble boards that I use at tournaments. Probably famously, I have a Lego Scrabble board that everyone really likes. And I have a couple, well, one other that I tote around that isn't quite as nice as the Lego Scrabble board. But I wanted to make some more. I've been running tournaments now, and I always have this fear of not having enough equipment. And plus, I've seen some boards online for sale and of various quality, but none of them really struck me as something I wanted to spend that much money on. So I wanted to see how easily I could make my own board. And actually, it wasn't that terribly difficult. Here is one of the final boards I have recently made. I will show you the components that I used to make this. Most of the components, there aren't that many pieces to it, most people could get or make on their own. There is one specialty part though that might be a little difficult for people. First of all, the board. So you can of course just cut your own round board if you want. Scrabble boards are generally 19 to 20 inches in diameter. And I certainly have access to a wood shop that I could have cut my own board, but one day recently I was at the Hobby Lobby Arts and Crafts store, and lo and behold, they sell, I think these are birch plywood discs. They have a hole in the back for hanging, for decoration, but these are exactly 19.5 inches in diameter. This is the perfect size for a Scrabble board, and they're relatively cheap. They're like 17 bucks or something when they're not on sale, 16 bucks when they're not on sale. They come bright white. I think they're birch plywood laminated. So this has been stained. I just used some typical wood stain and a polyacrylic finish. Gave it a few coats to make it darker, and just something that I liked that aesthetic better. But this is readily available. Also at Hobby Lobby was a Lazy Susan turnstile. You can get these at other hardware stores, of course, but surprisingly Hobby Lobby had the best price on these, like half the price of Home Depot, I think, which really kind of surprised me. So these are two main components. Then I designed and printed my own board or backing, the spaces of the board. These were printed on legal size pages, 8.5 by 14. I just designed it in Open Office Draw and printed it out on a color printer. I then laminated it. This is so the page is more protected from moisture and things like that, and gives it some more strength. I had to do it in two halves, of course, but two legal size pages will get you a full-size board. If I had a really large printer, I guess, you could print it all as one sheet, but that would be very difficult. And then the last component that is difficult, would be difficult for most people, would be the lattice that holds the pieces in place. Here I have acrylic. This is acrylic that I bought at Home Depot in sheets. It's 0.093 inches thick, so pretty thin stuff. And I have a laser cutter, so I was able to laser cut these lattice pieces. And you may not be able to see it in the light because these are just clear acrylic, but I laser cut screw holes to put screws. And I did this in two halves. Mainly because my laser cutter, the bed of my laser cutter is only big enough to do half at a time. If I had a much more expensive laser cutter, then I could probably cut this out all as one piece. But doesn't really matter, it works either way. And when I assemble all these things along with some brass screws that I got, you can see the final result is here. So I just glue the laminated page backing with some spray tacky glue that's slightly movable in case you put it in the wrong place, but that adheres it to the board. I then apply that glue to the plastic lattice and put it on top and let it sit and make sure it's in place, and then I drill holes and put the brass screws, and then on the back I put the Lazy Susan hinge or turnstile, and when it's all done it works quite well. And these, I should show, the lattice does fit your typical Scrabble tile very well. So it works very well. So I actually made this, I made a couple of them, so I now have some spare boards for my tournaments. I can be sure I should always have enough equipment. So I thought people would be interested in just seeing how that was done.